Hi, this is Matrixity from Matrixity Muses. Welcome to my matrix. Today I'm going to show you how to make my world famous pesto deviled eggs. Now I say they're world famous because if everybody in the world actually tried them, they would love them, because everybody who's eaten them here locally absolutely loves them, and they're so easy to make. And just by changing a simple recipe and adding one secret ingredient, and it won't be secret after this video, I look like a culinary diva. So to make these deviled eggs, there's only 4 things that you need. One, of course, are the eggs. So I've got some of the Eggland's Best eggs here. See those? These are Eggland's Best. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to boil 12 of these. So once I cut them in half, I will have 24 deviled eggs. So that's the first thing that's involved in the recipe, the eggs. Boil those 20 minutes. Make sure they're hard boiled. And then the next thing I'm going to use is mayonnaise. And of course, it's got to be none other than Duke's mayonnaise. Okay, Duke's? There is no such thing as Hellmann's, Miracle Whip. What are those things? They're not real mayonnaise. Duke's mayonnaise is the only thing that's going to work in this recipe. So it must be Duke's mayonnaise. This is the best mayonnaise there is to use for this recipe. The third thing that you're going to be needing is dry mustard. Now the dried mustard, this is just simply the Publix brand, which works fine. It's readily, can you see that? There we go. It's readily available everywhere. It's just dry mustard in a jar. Has a shaker top, and this is the Publix brand. But this is what makes the eggs deviled, in my opinion. This is what makes them deviled. So once you add the mustard in with the mayonnaise and the egg yolks, this is what makes it deviled. The last thing you're going to need, which is really the not so secret recipe item, is the pesto. And this is what makes a simple deviled egg become a world famous pesto deviled egg. Now the brand is Classico. There are many pesto brands out there, and I've tried several, and some of them are kind of weird tasting, but this one is always the best one. I always go back to this one. And I don't put any other seasonings like salt or pepper or paprika in the mayonnaise at all, because all the seasoning for this recipe is going to be coming from the pesto. It's got salt, it's got garlic, it's got the cheese in it, it has all the flavors, the olive oil. So this is where the extra flavor is going to be coming from, so you don't need to add any other salt and pepper to anything else, because this is where your seasoning is going to come from. So this is great. And the other thing too is when you mix it up, just know that don't add too much mayonnaise. You want your egg yolks to be creamy, but when you add the pesto, because it is sitting in an olive oil emulsion, it's going to add a little fluency to the egg. So you do want your eggs to be just a slightly bit stiff, because once you add your pesto, it's going to loosen up. It's going to be thinner. So what I'm going to do now is go put the eggs on the boil, and then I will show you step by step as I add these ingredients to make our world famous pesto eggs. See you soon. Well, in the interim, I have boiled the 12 eggs, and I have them here. So this is my bowl of boiled eggs. And basically what I'm going to do now is just cut them in half. And I'm going to be placing the whites in this egg platter. Just going to be holding our completed deviled eggs, and the yolks I'm going to be putting into this empty bowl so that I can mash them up with the, first mash them up, and then put in the other ingredients to make the deviled eggs. I'm going to go ahead and cut these in half. Now, the thing about this recipe is that I've made it so many times, and I'm just using just a regular, knife, cutting it in half. You can see it's in half there. Oops. There's the yolk cut in half. So I'm popping out the yolk, so pop it out into the bowl. There it goes. The empty white goes into the egg platter, because that's where I'm going to be filling them. So again, plopping out the yolk into the bowl, and this only have 12, so this will take just a few minutes. But the thing about this recipe is that I've made it so many times that I don't use any real measurements anymore. When I first started making deviled eggs many years ago, of course I did go by the standard recipe. I'd measure everything out according to the recipe I had, and you could probably go online and get the exact measurements of what I'm doing. But I've made this so many times that I just do it by eye. So I guess if you really wanted me to, I could probably come up with some measurements, but generally I just do it by the way things look, the consistency as far as how they feel once I put the mayonnaise in. So, you know, I guess that's the benefit of making a recipe so many times. You really don't need an actual written down recipe anymore. So again, just cutting these boiled eggs in half, popping out the yolks, and they will just pop right out, fall out into the bowl, and saving the whites, because that's what we're going to fill. And almost done with these. But again, as you can see, the recipe is so easy. There's not anything to it, just the 4 ingredients. It's all you need. All right, so almost done with these. Let me go ahead and cut these last few in half so we can actually start the mashing of the egg yolks. Because what we want is a very smooth, creamy consistency once we add the mayonnaise. Again, Duke's mayonnaise. And we don't want it too thin because we're going to be adding the pesto a little bit later, which of course is going to make it thinner. All right, so almost done with these. I think I've got 2 left. Well, actually 3. And I know that lots of people have added other things to their recipes also. I think once I even tried adding capers. Now that turned out really good. Capers are kind of salty, so you really got to be extra careful with capers not to add too many of those. This is the last egg I'm cutting in half. Popping out the yolk into a bowl. Okay, so you can see I've got my 24 whites ready to be filled. All right, and now I've got my bowl of egg yolk, which I need to mash up. So I've got a fork, and you know, some people use potato masher. Now, years ago, and it hasn't been too long ago, but I do have a food processor. But the thing is, with a food processor, and you can just see I'm just mashing, you know, mashing the yolks up. They're crumbling. The food processor works fine. It's easy. And I do use that sometimes. But for deviled eggs, I found that so much egg was left on the blades of the processor and inside the processor bowl that it really did better just to mash it with the fork. I didn't lose as much of the egg. So, you know, I use my processor for more complicated recipes, but just one with these 4 ingredients, I just mash it with the fork and be done with it. So my egg whites are getting all crumbled up, which is what I want, because you want them to kind of like almost dissolve with the Duke's mayonnaise once you get it in there. And I'll let you see what this looks like. It's like almost like a fine powder now. You see that? It's fine and crumbly, which is what you want. And so, and again, with the mayonnaise, I'm doing it by eye because I've made this recipe so many times. I know what it should look like as far as consistency. So I've got my jar of Duke's mayonnaise right here. Again, the only thing that works in this recipe is Duke's. So I've got my tablespoon. I'm going to start with a couple of tablespoons, and I start small. I'll start with 2. Add those in, mix well, and then see how it feels. See how it looks. Is it right as far as the consistency? So I'm just mixing in the mayonnaise now, and it's getting kind of creamy. And again, as you're mixing, you're still kind of mashing because you want the yolks to be as creamy as possible. A couple of lumps are okay, but you know, you really want it to be kind of a smooth paste. Now this is kind of thick, so I can tell I actually need more mayonnaise. It's not thin enough. So okay, as far as measurements, right now we're up to 4 tablespoons of mayonnaise for 12 egg yolks. So, okay, now we're getting a better consistency. I can actually kind of stir it. It's getting there. It's getting creamy. I'll let you see what this looks like now. It's creamy. You can see it's, you know, it's creamy with the mayonnaise. You can see that, yeah, how that stirs up. So I'm going to stir that some more. And if there are any lumps, you know, this is going to be, And I guess this is when you'd probably use a processor, because maybe if you use a processor it'd be 100% smooth, but it doesn't have to be 400% smooth to be for deviled eggs. A little bit of yolk here and there, it's all good. All right, so this is actually the right consistency. And now it's actually time to add the mustard. And again, this is the ground mustard. It's dried. This is the Publix brand. You just sprinkle some in. And I think this is the only time I'll actually do a taste test after I get this mixed in. And again, I just shake some in. And you know, as I said before, I've made this recipe so many times I don't use the measurements, but I just shook some in. I'm going to stir it up really well. And then I'm going to taste it, because this you do have to taste, because then you can tell whether or not the eggs have been deviled. You know, they have that certain taste, you know that it's actually a deviled egg mixture. Okay. All right, so I've mixed this well. This is my tasting fork. I'm going to use it one time. There's no double dipping, but I'm going to taste this to see how this is. Good. You know what? You can actually use just a pinch more, not much. Just a pinch more of the mustard. So I've just added that. I'm going to mix this in, and it will be perfect. All right. Now we have our deviled eggs mixture. Yum. Now the last thing we have to add, the fourth thing, the not so secret ingredient, is the pesto. Now pesto is sitting in an emulsion of olive oil. Whoops. So you can't just pour it in, because when you open the top, you're going to see that layer of olive oil on the top. It must be mixed. You can actually see it there. You have to mix up the ingredients in the bottom very carefully, because usually it's very full. Very full. So you're going to mix it to get the pesto and the olive oil mixed together, so that you're not getting a big glob of olive oil, and that you actually want the taste of the pesto to be throughout everything. So once you get it mixed up, it only takes a minute to get that olive oil in emulsion kind of through everything. And with the pesto, you don't need a lot, because pesto is a strong flavor. This is where the flavor is going to come in, because it's got garlic, it's got olive oil, it's got the peppers, the salt, it's got the cheese in there. So it's going to really give you the flavor that you want of the pesto deviled egg. So I start with just a tablespoon. So a tablespoon of the pesto, just take it right out there. It's green, yummy. Well, maybe we'll start with two. And you can see that. And we're just going to mix that in. Mix it in. Oh, and because it is olive oil, it is going to give your egg mixture a little bit of more creaminess, which is what you want. Oh, and I think this might be the deal right here. All right. You know what? I think it needs maybe a half a teaspoon more. And I think we are good. And now we're actually ready to fill. Oh, you know, I should have bought an extra spoon, but I did not. I got that 1 fork for tasting. But what I will do is I will use this same spoon that I used for the pesto. Since it's the last ingredient I put in the eggs, put the lid back on the pesto. And I've got a napkin here. I'm going to wipe the spoon off, the extra olive oil. And I'm going to use this spoon to fill my boiled egg whites. One final stir. And now basically, what I'm going to do, I'm going to scoot this over and bring my eggs over. So I've got my empty egg whites here. So basically, and this egg tray, oh my gosh, this egg tray has been the best thing. My sister-in-law gave me this for Christmas a couple years ago, and it's been fantastic. So basically, you're going to fill a half a teaspoon or a tablespoon, and then fill your little egg pocket here. You know, fill it in with the filling. Let me see if I can let you see that. There we go. Yep, deviled eggs. Pesto deviled eggs. So we're going to fill that. And you can leave a little because once you mix it up, believe it or not, you're going to have more than enough to fill these eggs and have some left over. So I'm going to show you some of these filled. I won't sit here and fill all 24, but just so you can see what they're going to look like. And of course, being a cook, you have to try one just for good measure to be sure that what you have is not going to be terrible. You got to at least test one. Okay, so we're filling them, and I've heaped them on a little bit because, you know, there's plenty of mixture with the yolk. Plenty, and you'll even have some left over. You can actually go back and, you know, cap them off a little bit more. I've even had to do that too. All right, so our egg tray is filling up now, and I will be all set for this baby shower tomorrow. We have a double baby shower for some people that I know, and which is going to be great. And it was requested that I make my world famous pesto eggs, so I have done that. So I will be ready, and hopefully everybody will enjoy them. And I'll show you how the tray is coming along, just for good measure. Okay, I think I've got about, let's see, how many filled here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got 10 filled. So, just so you can see the tray, how it's coming along. So you can see how the tray is coming along, being filled up with the eggs. All right. So I'm going to try one, but I think we're done. I'm going to fill the rest of these, and then I will put them in the refrigerator to get cool. But I'm going to try one just to see how it tastes, just to see. Can never go wrong with my world famous pesto eggs. These are wonderful. All right. Well, I've tried one. I know it's good. People will enjoy them. So I'm going to sign out. So I'm going to go wash my hands, fill the rest of these, probably maybe about 12 left, and put them in the fridge. And everybody have a good night. And I will see you later, alligator. Bye.